Here is my 2000 point Ogre army for Kings of War. You don't get many Ogres for 2000 points, but here they all are. I shall give you some close-ups. Starting off with the Mammoth. This isn't a Mantic model, this is from the Song of Ice and Fire range. And these Mammoths were recommended to me as being particularly good for Kings of War Ogres. They fit the base size really well. And you get two in the box. I've only painted up one, but I will be painting up the other in a slightly different position, a bit more elevated. The reason for that is because if I'm in base-to-base contact with anything that's higher than man size, really, I think those mammoth tusks are going to get in the way, possibly. But I think it'll be fine for now. Next to the Mammoth, again, not Mantic models. These are my Berserker Braves, and they're actually figures from a 1990s board game called Dark World. That's why they all look totally identical. I quite like that cartoony 90s monopose look. I don't know everyone does, but I think they fit the profile of Berserker Braves pretty well as well. They're not too armoured, and they look like they go berserk. I think they fit quite well. Next to them, the Warlock Nomad. Quite shiny at the moment. The reason for that is that Nomad has got gloss varnish on, polyurethane gloss varnish, and that's because it's the only metal model in this army. I want to make sure that it wasn't going to get chipped. When that gloss varnish, which has only fairly recently been applied, has definitely dried out and cured totally, I'll give it a coat of anti-shine matte varnish just to dull that gloss down. Next to Nomad, we've got two regiments of warriors with two-handed weapons. The ones in the front have got glowing sort of fiery orange weapons. The ones at the back have got frosty blue icy weapons. No real reason for this other than to just get a little bit of colour into the army because it's quite sort of sludgy and brown and dirty by design, which I think fits ogres really nicely. But a little pop of colour does work wonders. And also, if I decide to give these two regiments some magic items, it'll make them more readily identifiable, both to me and my opponent. At the back there's Grokkagamok, who is the other named character in the ogre list. The first model I painted. I think I bought Grokkagamok, and then on the strength of that, I really liked how he painted up, and I bought an army box, and then some other bits, and it went from there. That's how it works, I think, a lot of the time with me. Here we are, Standardbearer, and the standard here is, I think that's apart from the original Games Workshop ogres. I think I had that part because it was attached to an old Warhammer 40k orc character, and anyway, the bit ended up in my bits box, and it's finally seen life again attached to an ogre army. Next to that, we have two regiments of Siegebreakers. Siegebreakers have the big shield special rule, so of course they need big shields. These big shields are made from Playmobil parts. There's a particular Playmobil shield you can get, and you can cut it into two halves and then break one of those two halves in half and stick it back together. And so between from one particular one shield, you can make two shields, if you know what I mean. One that looks like that and one that looks like that, and so you get a bit of a mixture. I think they look good. I quite like that. I think it looks all right, and the shields were not expensive at all. You can get proper Siegebreaker figures from Mantic, and they look great. But I just used the warriors and converted them. Okay, last but not least, the boomers. These are fantastic models. I love them. What's not to like? You know, ogres carrying massive blunderbusses with huge savage bayonets on them. And again, I think they really reflect the fact that boomers, obviously a shooty unit, but they can do quite a lot of damage up close as well. They look like they would damage you hand to hand, even if their ammo totally run out. So there we go. There's the army as a whole. I painted pretty quickly. They weren't hard to paint at all. I've used mainly Army Painter Quick Shade to shade them, as you can probably tell. But this will be for my first game of Kings of War for a few years, actually. I last played in 2018 in the last edition. I've moved house since then, and obviously we've had the last couple of years of fun and games. or fun and no games at all, is more to the point. So this is my army for getting back into Kings of War. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for watching.